Good morning, boys and girls. Mr. Lang here, just wanting to review some of the measurement to the quarter inch, as well as then taking that data and putting it on a line plot. We thank Mrs. Kelly for Thursday's lesson of showing us what a line plot is, how to take that data and how to put those plots, those dots on the line to help us analyze our data, to look at our data, to question our data. Then Mr. Unger showed us how we could measure on Friday, and I'm kind of putting both of them together, and that's why we're going to take a look at how we measure and then taking that data, those measurements, and putting it on a line plot. So I have our friends here, Annie and Moby, to help us out with measuring.
You found it! A ruler can help us find exact measurements. What are inches? Well, an inch is a unit of measurement, and we can use inches to measure small objects. When you measure something with a ruler, it's really important to line it up with the zero. Right, this bolt is 1 inch long. We abbreviate inches as IN period. Let's measure it. This screw is a little more than 2 inches long. It's longer than the bolt. This nail is close to 4 inches long. It's the longest.
Thank you, Moby and Annie. So if we come back here to our presentation, we take a look at it. Uh, Annie and Moby gave us some really great pointers. And the first pointer, first idea is you need to line up your object that you're measuring at the zero. And that's what I did here with my yellow box. It's lined up right there at the zero, not the edge of the ruler, but at the zero. You have to start at the zero, just like Moby and Annie did with the screw and the bolt and the nail. They put that at the zero. Then part two, next, you need to decide what whole number does it go past. So it goes past the 1, but it has not hit that 2 yet. So it's only 1 full inch, because we can't say it's 2 full inches because it's not. We have this gap here. So once you figure out what whole number it's on, then we're going to start counting our quarter inches. 1 1/4, 2 1/4, 3 1/4, 4 4/4. And if we look down there on the bottom, it reminds us that when the numerator and the denominator, that top number and that bottom number, are the same, we have 1 full inch. So right now we know, but we look that it goes past the 1, so that's why we have a whole number 1, because it's 1 whole inch, and then it's past the quarter inch, past the 2/4 inch, but it stops right there on 3/4. So we call it 1 full inch and 3/4, and that's what I have down here. So if we take a look and we want to practice measuring, I have these 2 Lego blocks here that I need to measure. So you're going to do a couple slides after this, and you're going to take your ruler, you're going to measure it up. First thing I have to do is put that Lego block at the end at the zero. This ruler happens to the zero starts at the end, which is good to know. And I look, it goes past 1 inch, it goes past 2 inches, and it goes past 3 inches. So it's 3 full inches. But it hasn't hit a quarter inch yet, hasn't hit a half inch. So we're going to say that that is 3 full inches. I'm just going to move this down here for a second so that in my yellow box, I can put that in. And I'm going to label it because that's important. We need to know that we're labeling in inches. Let's give this one a try. Have to put that 0 at the edge of that tan block, and now it's 1 inch. But if I go to the 2 inches, it hasn't hit it yet. So we know it's 1 full inch. I have to remember that. 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. So it's 1 full inch and a half. Now you might be saying, what's a half inch? Well, when we count 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. But when the 2 and the 4 are on top, 2/4, I can change that to half, because if I divide 2 by 2, I get 1. If I divide 4 by 2, I get 1. And that's how we say a half, just for those of you who followed it. But it's halfway between the 1 and the 2. So it's 1 full inch and a half. I can write that as 1 1/2 or I can write it as, use that back arrow, and I can use it as 1.5. Okay, so you're going to do a couple slides. I think I have to add a slide in there. You're going to measure them just like I did with the ruler, and you're going to put it in. Just practicing measurement, remembering that you have to start at the 0. Now, the line plot. The line plot is just a way for me to organize my data. So here I have 8 different lines that I wanted to do a science experiment with, or measure different lines, and I had to figure out what the measurement is, but then I have to take that blue dot and put it on my line plot. This line plot starts at 1, and they use whole numbers. Okay, the ones that you're going to do, they start at 1, and they use half numbers. So in between the 0 and the 1, there's a line, that's a half. In between 1 and 2, there's a line, that's a half. So is it 1, 1.5, 2? And then to go crazy, the yellow rulers are divided into quarters, just like our measuring that we did at the top. So you have to decide, does it hit that next line yet? No. So it's 1, 2, 3. So we're going to say 4 3/4. So coming back up here, if I look at the whole, the first ruler is at the 4. So I'm going to take my dot, and I'm going to move it down here to the 4. Second ruler, the dot ends right there at 5. So where do I put it? On the 5. Next one, oh, I'm back at the 4. But that doesn't mean just because I have a dot there that I've already done it. I want to take that dot, and I want to make sure that I count it twice. This one's on the 3. I'm going to keep on going. This one is on the 3, so I have another one. This one's on the 2. This one is on the, you got it, it's on the 5. And then that last one, you got it again, it's on the 5. So, one thing that Mrs. Kelly did talk to us about, she told us that the most common number is the one that has the most above it. So the most common number on this, my choices are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The most common number is 5 because it has 3 dots above it. My least common is going to be 1 because it doesn't have any. And then 3 and 4, if I look at that, they're similar. They have the same number. So make sure that you take all of your dots as you move them around, and make sure they all end up here. 8 rulers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots. So I hope you have fun. I hope you have an understanding of how we can measure starting at the 0 with 1/4-inch rulers, and then how we can take that information and that data and put them onto line plots. So if you have any questions, we're here for you. Have mom or dad email us. Go ahead. You could always put a comment in the Google Classroom for us to have. Good luck and happy measuring and line plotting.